Why you bully me?
Welcome back to the channel and a new episode of my best ability card loadout series, everyone. A couple of weeks ago, we kicked off with a fantastic overall build that will give you an insane amount of health and Deadeye without the use of tonics, meaning you get to save a ton of money or crafting time in the process while you're in gunfights, because the whole point of that build is so you aren't relying on things like tonics. And today, we have the ultimate aggressive class setup. This is used by the most serious PvP legends and those in free roam who want to deal max damage while also mitigating as much damage from incoming fire as possible as well. The combination of ability cards in this video make for a loadout that truly feels like you're cheating. So let's break down everything you need to know, and I'll be giving even more tips in addition to reviewing these ability cards. If you enjoy this video at any point, or if you just find it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you want to stay up to date with everything Red Dead Online and Rockstar games, consider hitting that subscribe button with your bell notifications turned on. Quick disclaimer, it's recommended all of these ability cards that we discuss in any of my loadout videos should be upgraded to level 3. That's where you get the most benefit of these cards, and once they're upgraded, you don't need to worry about doing it for those cards ever again. So, starting off strong with the ability card that gives you extreme damage outputs in legendary bounties if you're more of a PvE focused player, or even in PvP where other players chug tier 3 special tonics, you can be sure this card is always going to give you an edge, and that card is Winning Streak. With Winning Streak level 3, each consecutive shot on the same target does much more damage than the last. In many cases, players opt for headshots or are just fighting groups of enemies where 1 or 2 shots suffice for an easy kill. You typically don't need many shots for standard stranger mission enemies, free roam tier 1, 2, or 3 bounties, some moonshiner operation enemies, but revenue agents who have extreme health in the free roam similar to that of legendary bounties or even legendary bounty enemies themselves, this is why you want Winning Streak. Without this card, you'll be dealing damage and killing the enemy in the range of about 3 to 6 shots to the body. That of course depends on if you're using a bolt action rifle, which deals a high amount of damage, versus a semi-auto pistol, which deals somewhat lower damage, but that's the range of shots you can expect to take to get a kill. With Winning Streak, you bring the enemy's health down incredibly fast with each next shot, as long as you don't miss or target a different enemy mid-engagement. Choose a target, fire, and once they're down, move on to the next. Whether you're behind cover or rushing around, it works great no matter what. And in the case of PvP, when a player is using a tier 3 tonic, you really see the advantage of Winning Streak because you have to put in a bunch of shots on the target no matter what. Without using a tonic yourself and without using Winning Streak, expect to lose that fight. But next on our list is Fool Me Once. We have an ability card for outputting high damage on enemies, so let's add an ability card to our loadout that acts as a damage reduction and damage mitigation ability when we're under heavy fire. Fool Me Once 3 allows you to take much less damage each consecutive time you're shot, and this effect ends if you are not shot for 10 seconds. This is essentially like Winning Streak but for damage reduction. Something to note as well is how the effect of this card ends if you aren't shot for 10 seconds. I just want to mention it really is a non-issue for a few reasons in my opinion. For one, if you aren't getting shot at by that player or that NPC enemy for 10 seconds, they're most likely dead. You or someone else killed them, so the fight is already over and you don't have to worry about it. Or in the case of them running for cover and waiting out the 10 seconds, you're just back to the first shot damage reduction, and if they shoot you a second time and then the third, the card works as intended again. So it's not like you have to worry about taking too little damage after that. It's a win-win either way. You're protected more and more with more damage you take from one enemy, and if the effect of the card wears off, it means they aren't targeting you anyway. Now, for our final passive card, we have Peak Condition. I recommend this if you want to use this build in PvE or if you're playing against players in free roam or PvP where you don't mind getting headshotted. If getting headshotted is a concern for you, use Never Without One instead. Both are great cards to use in the third passive slot. Never Without One is self-explanatory at this point. It's all about protecting you from one hat shot, but Peak Condition, on the other hand, This is about maximizing your damage on enemies. Again, achieving our goal of absolutely punishing the high health legendary bounty targets or ripping through players tier 3 tonic health in both showdown and free roam PvP situations. With peak condition, sprinting uses less stamina and you deal much more damage depending on your current stamina level. I do want to mention this card was slightly nerfed last year, which affects just how much stamina you use while sprinting, but it still stands even after the nerf as one of the top most effective single ability cards to use in the game. And should I mention that it's a 2-for-1 deal? You use less stamina while sprinting, and if you have a high enough stamina bar at that moment in time, you'll be dealing a ton of extra damage on targets. This card also stacks with winning streaks, so not only is your damage output above average simply by just using peak condition, but remember, with each consecutive shot you land, that damage increases even more through the use of winning streak. Now, as for our Deadeye ability card, I of course always recommend Paint It Black. For our next episode in this ability card loadout series, there was one class setup I want to share which doesn't use Paint It Black, so don't worry. As much as I love PIB, there are other very good setups we need to talk about. But for now, I recommend Paint It Black with this build. You know the deal with this card as well. You can mark targets, which is great for long range engagements, or simply focusing in on your shotgun shells on a player. The reason this card is so great though isn't because of that ability. Sure, it's cool and all, but even if this card didn't have the ability to mark targets, I would still use this card. It's mainly because you don't have Bloom. Bloom is what causes players to miss shots, and that circle is essentially non-existent when you use and activate Paint It Black. Before the patch on February 26th of 2019, every Deadeye card gave that advantage. Each card has their own unique ability, and each card also canceled Bloom. Now this, of course, was changed during that patch, making Paint It Black a card which originally only allowed you to mark targets, which at the time was an almost pointless feature when slow and steady was something that was meta at the time, and it turned Paint It Black into probably the most important ability card in the game. So when you combine no Bloom and perfect accuracy on a weapon that's further buffed with 2 damage cards like Winning Streak and Peak Condition, you can see the absolute steamroll your character is going to be in combat. Shotguns become cannons that rip through tier 3 tonics, and repeater and rifle shots deal so much damage that you can just lay into enemies without necessarily worrying too much about your accuracy anyway, and if they aren't ready for that fight, by the time they ready their weapon and start to target you, they're already on the ground. With that being said, that's where we're going to wrap up the video here today. Hopefully you all enjoyed the video, and if you did, hopefully I earned your like on it. And of course, if you are new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button to stay up to date with all things Red Dead Online, Red Dead Redemption 2, and even Rockstar games as a whole. We'll be sure to keep you guys up to date with updates, news, information, tips, tricks, and even leaks, and we'll keep you guys updated here on the channel daily, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected with me outside of YouTube. I practically live on all 3 of those websites, and you can feel free to strike up a conversation and even ask me a question. Whatever it may be though, you can follow me at Hazardous HDTV, and all of my social media links, including my Discord, can be found in the description down below. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I will see you all in the next Red Dead Online video. Adios, amigos.